lunch at San Diego Comic-Con with Guillermo del Toro. And we're sitting there just shooting the breeze, having the best time. And his manager, Gary Unger, comes by and he's got this beautiful leather-bound book. And he says, I got this back from the museum. And so he hands it to Guillermo and I say, can we see what that is? And it turns out it is the visual renderings of Pan's Labyrinth that he drew on the page. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at my friend here, and I'm like, this guy is not from the same planet that I'm from. It reminded me of when the first time I sat with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was like, he's such a nice guy. I could be his friend. And then I looked at him again, and I realized, like, I never had a friend in my life who was half as good looking as this guy and charming as this guy. So once again, it's a Fredo Corleone moment for me. But, well, you all know and love Guillermo and his films, and I'm going to bring him out here and dote on him. And we decided that he was our guy. We've been doing Contenders for like 16 years, and we wanted a Hall of Fame. We wanted our Hall of Fame, and he is our first person to do this. Welcome. Now you may come out. Welcome. There you go. We have your, okay. Yeah, see, we have a plaque, and we also have a participant ribbon, which we'll give you after. So, you know him. I can go through his list of credits. Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water, Kronos, Pinocchio, Blade 2, the World of Gaiju, Pacific Rim, Hellboy, The Hobbit, the screenplays, Nightmare Alley, The Devil's Backbone. I have to say, Guillermo, I've been a fan of your work forever, as you know, and I think Frankenstein was the most fully rendered realization of your outsized imagination. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I would hope so, because I've been, everything has been leading to that. For more than 30 years of career and 50 years of obsession led to that. And every practice, every makeup effect, every learning with the crane, the storytelling, all leads to that.
Well, once I visited you at Bleak House, I walk in, and on the second floor, I think it was, is a gigantic green head with the neck bolts, and it's Boris Karloff as Frankenstein. So tell me, why were you so obsessed with Mary Shelley's book and the idea of this kind of modern Prometheus creating life and all the things that happen, and then we'll get into the way you veered from that sacred text.
Yeah, first of all, the room that holds the Frankenstein collection has hundreds of models I've painted over the years. That giant head, a full-size Jack Pierce making up Boris Karloff, a full-size Frankenstein monster with the Maria giving him the flowers, a full-size visitation between the bride and the groom, and many, many other things, a live cast of Boris, portraits, and I call that the living room in the house. And it really is an obsession that started at 7. Jacob Elordi said it better than I can. When we were talking about him playing the creature, he said, that creature is more me than me. And I feel that way. You know, I was really out of place growing up. I didn't understand anything that was being explained to me about the real world. And I saw how adults lied to each other, lied to others, and lied about the truth of the world, and the perfection which was demanded of a kid was suffocating. And I didn't understand that until I saw Boris Karloff cross the threshold in that movie, 1931's Wales Frankenstein, and I went into almost a paroxysm. I said, we had just gone to church at 8 a.m. And I felt, well, that was church, this is my Messiah, you know? And I, at 11, I read the book, and I said, well, that's not the movie I saw. And I wanna, the spirit of this book, what I felt reading it, I wanna make it into a movie. I was a Super 8 filmmaker at age 7, so at 11, so it took a while, but I made it.
Boy, and it's... So, your creature, though, this movie, there is no green creature with neck bones.
No.
There's no Abby Normal in terms of the brain that was
Great movie, though.
delivered. Absolutely. So tell me, and your creature is very empathetic.
Yeah.
So he basically has a regular brain. He's very empathetic. Talk a little bit about where you veered into your own territory as to how to accentuate this. And it really is Victor who's the monster.
Yeah, it is. In my opinion, first of all, the classic whale film deviates completely from the text already. I mean, it's based on 1927 play, stage play. And there's no Fritz, the hunchback assistant. There's no abnormal brain. There's no, accidental replacement of that brain, etc. My interest of the text was to chronicle the journey of the creature, which is the text. Mary Shelley partially is trying to put a philosophy layer on top of it. That is John Milton's Paradise Lost. Falling out of grace and asking the Creator, why me? Why am I here? What is my role as a human? Very profound questions that are asked in the book. The book was written when Shelley was a teenager, and it has all the urgency of that age and all the nervous questions and sort of undisciplined structure that makes it, no pun intended, come alive. And I wanted to capture the beauty of that. I wanted also, through the decades, I studied the 3 different versions of the book. I studied the life of the Romantics of Mary Shelley, and I fused her biography, my biography, what I know about the Romantics, and the book. The act of adaptation of a book should not ever be taxidermy. Should be making it live again. Show you a living, breathing animal. And the act of adapting it needs profound knowledge of it. And I think I achieved it over the decades. And finally, I think we're born with 1 or 2 songs in ourselves. And I am Johnny Cash singing Hurt. I aged into it. I failed into it. I succeeded into it. My knees hurt, my soul hurts. I have fucked up enough that I feel the pain of the questions that she has.
Yeah.
And I try to sing that song as if it's new.
Well, now, I notice the anatomical drawings that we see in the picture, and that board that has the nerve system.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining that you did all that. Is that fair?
Well, it's based on my drawings. It's based on my diaries, and the plank with the lymphatic system. First of all, Harlander buys that because syphilis circulates through the lymphatic system, which is what he's interested in curing. And this is based on a real plank. There are 4 planks like that in the Ontarian Museum of Medicine in London. There's a lot of research we did before, and that was one of the things. What we wanted to, I wrote the screenplay through an 1835 Library of Medical Science, and we consulted with Victorian surgery experts to do the most detailed anatomically assembling of the creature ever put on film.
Well, now, so you've got a fine cast in this movie. Jacob Elordi, you've got Oscar Isaac, you've got Mia Goth, and she is just enchanting. And then you've got Christoph Waltz as, spoiler alert, the syphilitic benefactor.
And arms dealer.
Yes, arms dealer. So what is more fun for you? Creating those renderings or directing these actors?
You know, I love when the things, when you get a good actor on the set and you wrote the script, you think, I'm a really good writer. If you don't have a great actor, you're a terrible writer. You know, a great actor is the ambassador between the emotion and the audience. There's no two ways about it. You're not there. You have to entrust the moment on an actor, and it's the highest bond at work in a movie set. So if you cast well, that's most of it. To me, I cast eyes. The eyes of the actor have to embody the soul of the character, because then the energy is there. The eyes of Jacob Elordi are exactly what I needed for that creature. The eyes of Mia, always curious, always humanistic and compassionate, but in awe of the world. That's what I needed. Christoph Waltz, calculating, scary, and then he acts and he's even more. But each of them, Oscar Isaac has the sort of gothic, swarthy romance, a little bit of madness, but a lot of vulnerability. So I really enjoy working with the actors so much.
Well, now, Ridley Scott once told me that when he reads a script, even in a movie he doesn't do, he sees exactly how he would shoot it. He says, I guess it's my superpower, but what I had to learn how to do was to tell stories and to tell good stories, and he worked really hard on that. What is your strongest suit, would you say, when you do these things? I mean, I think I know what it is. Just having flipped through that incredible book of storyboards, but give me a sense of what you're good at and what you really have to work hard to be good at.
Well, if I have to say, I have disciplined myself over the decades to create worlds in which incredible beauty and horror can coexist, to provoke an emotion that is unique. And it's an emotion that uses horror as a parable to heal things that you cannot name. I don't use horror as a genre to scare or to jolt. It can shock, but I want to use it in the way that a fairy tale or a parable would be, where it moves you and emotionally to a place that is profound and deep and, as I would say, only reached by monsters. And I think that in creating that, I try to not create eye candy, but eye protein, beautiful images that are telling a story. And I think the rest is just, you have to work really hard all the time about the tone of that. Because in order for that creature to exist, you need to create the whole world around it. And it has to be tonally right for that creature. And then you work at that, deploying the emotion you need through that. Because if you have the same creature step into a Sidney Lumet movie, you would go, what the hell is that? Tonally the movie, audiovisually, needs to exist in an elevated tone so that that creature can exist in the screen. And you have to watch very, very carefully for that. You have to make sure that no department is operating independently. All cinematography is wardrobe, wardrobe is set design is cinematography, etc., etc. They need to operate as a single directed symphony that is going to deploy then the emotion.
Well now, and I can see, because of the vast following for your movies, that there's a universality to this idea, but many of your films, like this one, focus on outsiders. Tell me about what in your formative years made you value that so much and identify with it.
I think the best way to see the world is a little bit on the outside. The world of the things that are normative. I find success, the idea of success, repellent. The idea of romantic love, repellent. I find the idea of positive perfection, putting someone in a pedestal where there's no oxygen. I like fallibility. I think that we live in a world that is black or white and is in the gray that we have the oxygen. So we are depriving, we're suffocating each other to death. And monsters are a great parable for that.
Wow. So now I'm going to skip around over some portions of your life, since, you know, you're a Hall of Famer and all now. So your father, who sounded just like a storied figure in your life,
Yes.
you went through a 7-month ordeal where he was kidnapped.
72 days, yeah.
72 days. What was worse, that or working with the Weinstein?
The Weinstein.
women?
Hands down. Hands down. No, because on the other thing, you knew what they wanted. The Weinsteins, who the fuck knew what they wanted? I didn't. You know, I wanted, Mimic was the worst ordeal. The worst ordeal, because it lasted more than 72 days. But also there was, in the structuring of the kidnapping, a negotiator guides you through it. And the negotiator tells you what's going to happen and how is it going to, the outcome is going to be. The guy arrived on the first day and he said, how many conversations? We said 2. How much did you offer them? 100,000 is what we could gather. He said, he's going to be in 70 days. Like that. He knows, and he says, the next phone call you're going to make is, we have no money. 100,000 are not here. We can give you $50. And he says, and you're going to say it exactly like that. No, you have to say it like that. And he guided every conversation, and they were, when somebody says, did you have a tough call with the studio? I go, fuck no. I've had tough phone calls. Those are not tough. You know, that was, and there's images in the movie and moments in the movie that come from that ordeal.
Well, can you remember a comparable conversation that was less predictable that you had with Harvey Weinstein about the movie?
There was a very surreal conversation with Bob Weinstein.
Okay.
We developed a movie called Mimic, which is about giant insects that simulate, they look like humans, and they use the subway to prowl and take people down. And we developed the insect step by step, approved by Bob, you know, and we made the puppet a giant, hundreds of $1,000 mechanical puppet with rear control, and we finally tested on top of an actor, and Bob calls me and says, it looks like a bug. Bob, it's a bug. I mean, did you read the screenplay? It's a giant insect. Can we put him some fangs? And I go, insects don't have fangs. What about some hair? Insects don't have hair. You know, it's like, there were moments that are funny now, but another one is we went in and we saw a set, a movie set. It was the sewers, and we entered the stage, and you see the sewer hole from outside, and then the pipe connecting the other hole, and he says, it looks like a submarine. I said, Bob, that's not the set. That's the outside of the set. Well, it looks like a submarine. No, come in. And we go into the set, and he says, oh yeah, this looks better. Promise me you'll never shoot it from over there.
Wow. Going for the kidnappers, huh? The Museum Conference is more reasonable.
I think the kidnappers are working at an agency now.
Well,
they charge 10%.
So now, as I recall, it was Jim Cameron who helped you
with the negotiator.
Yes, and what does that say about the fraternity of ambitious, big swing filmmakers that he would just take it upon himself to get involved like that?
Jim and I, for whatever reason he chose to be simpatico with me, we've been brothers for more than 30 years. I used to stay at his house and we would watch anime together, and we would talk about science fiction and books and all that. And when my dad was taken, I called Jim and he said, I'm sending a negotiator right away. And he wanted to then come in and investigate with a bunch of Marines and Navy SEALs and all that. And I said, it doesn't work quite like that in Mexico. And I think the Navy SEALs will probably be kidnapped 2 days into it. But we've been brothers ever since. And I found, in my opinion, the industry likes to mythologize the bad. But I've met many of the most decent people I know in this industry. You know, many people that are true to their word, even when there is no paper. They are true to their aims. And you know, I happen to believe in hanging out with directors, which I do. We get together very often, every week, and we talk shop. Because I think there is something noble, not mythologized, not talking about just vision. I mean, vision is such a bad word. It means they don't know how to market your fucking movie. A visionary, that means from the guy that does that thing you like, there's more of that in this movie. But we don't know how the fuck to market it, so come and see it. But I think that we are hardworking people. There's a guild for a reason. We are doing poetry with hardware. Rails, cameras, pieces of glass that are called lenses, and we gotta get the day on time and on budget. There's a lot of the craft that has to make you a responsible, trusting, and trustable human being. And I like that side of it.
Well, now, do you, so you talk about these people who are taking big swings, and I remember we talked about Mimic a lot over the years, and you had said, you know, Mike DeLuca giving me Blade 2 has completely revived my career, and I mentioned that to Mike, and Mike said, I got the director of The Devil's Backbone and Kronos to do Blade 2. Are you kidding me? Who made out better in that deal? I made out better than that deal, but Mike is behind a couple of big swings this year in Sinners, and one battle after another, and your movie is a huge swing, I think. Now we're in a world where the town is contracting. Paramount could buy Warner Brothers, and that would, like just the way that Disney swallowed Fox a few years ago, and there's talk of AI, and here you made this movie, and you built the ship, the one that's frozen in the ice.
We built everything, and we wove the fabric.
That incredible lab, and the layer underneath it where the creature stays, and then there's, I mean,
and it looked like a submarine from the outside.
Yes, and it did. And I know, and I didn't see any hair on Jacob Elordi until the end on his head, but insects don't have hair, and I guess neither do your creatures. But give us something to feel encouraged about when there's all these setbacks: COVID, AI, guild standoffs with studios that lead to strikes. What should we feel good about going into the future of this incredible art form?
I believe that there are two things that are important. Speaking about things that matter to you, really matter to you. Not make a movie because it can be done, or it complies with your idea of a career, but doing it because your life depends on it. I believe that you can always identify the truth in the voice of a storyteller. That's one. The other one is making them by hand, from humans for humans, and making the crafts that you engage with, all the guilds that you engage with, sort of modelic, like craft aspirational.
Yeah.
If you can make a set construction or production designer dream of a set and see that you made a set, or a wardrobe designer look at the pageantry of beauty and power and storytelling with it lifts other people and gives them hope. I think those are two things that we can feel good about. There's a lot of people working in different areas. You have people shooting VistaVision, 70 millimeters. There's acolytes of the chemical film. You have people that are interested in distributing differently. There's many things that are moving, and I think we are bound to see a counter movement. And we are the way the pendulum swung with vinyl, so to speak. I think that in Europe and in some ways in the large cities in America, repertoire theater is well attended, is going on. So what happens with that, and when the next generation wants to go to the theater, when will they go? As far as AI, I have my opinions. People have heard them, but basically they can be surmised in fuck AI. That would be a succinct way of putting it. But what we must understand with AI is no, I don't know, it may be useful for architecture, chemistry, medicine, I don't know. But as far as art, I don't think any artist raised their hand and said, can we have AI? I don't think so. AI is like a guy that wandered into a party uninvited, sharted in the middle, and now wants to be applauded for it. Like nobody wanted. Nobody told them, come in and have some drinks, have fun. No. You know, so the real thing is you have people that have sunk a lot of money on something that has no ideas but permutations of ideas from people that already made them. So it knows what has been done. It doesn't know what to do next. It's not a human. And the second part of that is more interesting to me is not how much you invested on the program or how many programs you sold. If people buy a movie that is done by AI, that's the threshold. Will you pay $12 for a song done by AI? Will you pay 12, 13 bucks to watch a movie? And if that happens, then we'll get the movies we deserve. I'm afraid to say.
Well, you know, and we're going into overtime here, but I am the co-editor-in-chief, so
You showed them.
I have two more questions. So Frankenstein goes back to age 7 for you. This has been your longing. Is there another dream project like that, another mountain for you to climb that you're desperate to do?
Yes, and it won't happen, I don't think, but it's at the Mountains of Madness. I'm planning to make it for that long, or equally as long, but it also is very exciting to have a clean slate, to be able to be afraid of it again, like when you were young, and scare yourself into something new. I like that. I think that it's important to, when you're young, you fight real hard to do your thing. And then you do your thing, and now the fight is, can you stop doing your thing and do something else, please?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the sign of a last stage career and a last stage storyteller vocation, to shake yourself up and go back to being 20-something and not know how you're going to solve something, because that's a privilege. When you're older, a privilege is being a little afraid of what you're about to do. That's fantastic.
Well, I've been doing the same thing for like 40 years, so what does that mean? It makes me an underachiever, I suppose.
To be scared,
but I don't have...
Go another 10 minutes. Sweat it a little, man.
So now, all right, and then I've got my last question is a personal question, and one that nobody...
No, I cannot loan you money right now.
And this is one that nobody ever asks me. Where's the rest of you?
Oh, well, you know, I did lose 120 pounds, which is good.
How great is that?
And I can tell you, there's plenty more where that came from. Thank you for noticing.
I love it.
Fella.
Listen, I love it. We talked about, I want to see your filmography is this long. I would love, when we're done, and when we're all done and sitting around laughing about it, for it to be this long.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and taking care of yourself is a great part of that. So
I may last a few years more now, thanks to this and the diet.
That's right. You know, and I love it. I love it. And all right, so I think we've covered. We've justifiably justified the first Contenders Hall of Famer. And I would love for everyone to show you the adulate. Show him the adulate.
Thank you. Go back to the land.